Hello, welcome to my channel. Today's card is the Strength. If you've watched the Seven of Wands, you'll know that for some time I thought about choosing Get Out of My House as my Kate Bush song for this. But I think the song choice that I've made instead is a little bit more nuanced. I am not really sure exactly what strength means. I mean, I know what it means on a superficial level, but I keep changing my mind depending what stage of life I am. And I thought maybe I'll just explore some of the questions around what strength means with these three cards. If this card comes up in a reading or it's your card for the year, I think that's a really valuable question, is to ask, well, you're being called to be strong in some way. That's what the card means. But what does strength look like? What does true strength look like in this situation? So let's just go through the different cards. So I have the Leonara Carrington card here, and it's quite a traditional representation in which we have the lady with her hands. She seems to be controlling this lion strength. And she's got her foot over this kind of serpent-like figure. And that can also represent a female strength over a male strength. Especially, you know, we're in a patriarchal society still, and lots of power, you know, only certain types of power sometimes get acknowledged, but there are other powers as well. The orange is related to second chakra, so related to sexuality, and there is maybe a moral strength in this card. We are recognizing the forces within us that are more destructive, maybe, or more I don't want to use the word animal instincts, because in a negative way, because I think we tend to do that and then forget how animal instincts are also something that helps us survive, something that, you know, animal instincts are finely tuned, and our instincts seem to have been blunted by the society we're living in. But there is a sense of a choice, maybe, whether to do the good or to go with, you know, the good thing, which might be hard. So there might be strength in resisting. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I would say this is more about sort of moral, spiritual strength, not just a physical strength, which is represented by the lion, but it could even be, for example, a strength that from the outside looks humble, looks quiet, isn't asserting itself. It could be the strength to step away from a situation and avoid conflict. This is from the Sweet Twilight. I think I chose, so I thought the mask was interesting because that suggests that there is maybe, she's taking that mask off, so there could be a vulnerability. So sometimes strength, you know, like I'm thinking of my grandparents' generation and my parents' generation too, that strength was often seen as not showing the weaker, what was considered the weaker emotions, like grief and sorrow. But I think now we've recognised the courage often in showing those emotions and showing our vulnerability. And this is a different type of strength, maybe a strength to be authentic, to be true to ourselves, and yes, to show our vulnerability. I like the presence of Yoda here, because, and especially the contrast between him and this this lion, because Yoda is this strong figure, but where does Yoda's strength come from? Yoda's strength comes from his mental control, his focus, his spirituality, the fact that he knows what he's doing. This is linked with Leo, the star sign Leo, which, you know, linked with the lion, so that makes sense. But sometimes, well, there's various phrases associated with different astrological signs. So, for example, Aries would be I am, Taurus I have, Gemini I think, Cancer I feel. And when we get to Leo, it is I will, which is a real Yoda expression in a way. The I, you know, you assert what you recognise what you want, and then you assert that. Then, lastly, this one. I partly, you know, I was very much influenced when I did my card with the colours in this. I think they're really beautiful. And I loved how this looks like a flower, which again is another representation of strength, isn't it? The risk that the plant makes, you know, the risk to be yourself, to bloom or whatever, and that feminine strength again. And I just love this grey with the purples and that yellow, like filament of yellow, and against this red. And it's called, the traditional Golden Dawn name for this is Daughter of the Flaming Sword, which again is this sense of action, of movement. We know where we're going now. So with all that in mind, the song I chose for strength is again from the Dreaming album. The Dreaming album was Kate Bush's first album she produced solely on her own. So it was a big risk for her. And there were mixed receptions when it was reviewed. Some people just thought it was mad. It is a mad album. I absolutely love it. It's a real witchy sounding album. It's great for this tarot deck. And I think there is a lot of her asserting herself in the music through these different stories, rather than through her own story. And she also said about how she was living in London at the time. So there is this, I think maybe there is this disconnection from, you know, she's in this urban environment. And maybe there is this kind of her trying to push through that difficult environment she's in. So I've chosen Pull Out the Pin. You can see it's the neon version of these beautiful subtle colours. I could have chosen for the picture, of course, Lionheart, because, and maybe you would have been expecting that, because that is almost like a tarot card, the album for Lionheart. But I felt the associations of the actual song Lionheart weren't quite right for strength. I am just going to read what Kate Bush says about this song, because then I think it explains maybe why I've chosen this as my strength card. So, she says, I saw this incredible documentary by this Australian cameraman who went on the front line in Vietnam, filming from the Vietnamese point of view, so it was very biased against the Americans. He said it really changed him, because until you live on that level like that, when it's about complete survival, you don't know what it's about. He's never been the same since, because it's so devastating, people dying all the time. The way he portrayed the Vietnamese was as this really crafted, beautiful race. The Americans were these big, fat, pink, smelly things who the Vietnamese could smell coming for miles because of the tobacco and cologne. It was devastating, because you got the impression that the Americans were so heavy and awkward and the Vietnamese were so beautiful and all getting wiped out. They wore a little silver Buddha on a chain around their neck, and when they went into action, they'd pop it into their mouth. So if they died, they'd have Buddha on their lips. I wanted to write a song that could somehow convey the whole thing. So we set it in the jungle and had helicopters, cricket, and little Balinese frogs. I didn't know about the frogs. I hadn't heard the frogs in there. I'll have to listen to it again. So what I really liked about this as my strength card was that idea of the two cultures. So what I was saying about how what we think of as strength is a very cultural thing often, and how for the Vietnamese, who seemed to be more instinctive, and that's certainly how it's portrayed in the song, that they're more instinctive in how they're more in touch with the animal side in a way, and that in contrast to the Americans with their Western values who invade. So I liked that kind of question that it brings up. And I chose this lyric, "And I love life," because there is that somehow in the song, the Vietnamese seem more in touch with who they really are, more in touch with the earth, more in touch with their own instincts and their selves, their animal selves. And that is enabling them maybe to love life more. I think that is kind of the message, that there is this vitality there that is being wiped out by the war. So I thought it was an interesting one for strength. This is a picture from the John Carter Bush book, which I think she's quite young here. It predates Dreaming. But as I said earlier, it's so hard to find. The older Kate Bush gets, the less photos there are to choose. So I've just had to give up trying to make them contemporary with the song, the photos I choose. So that is my take for the strength. If you have any comments, please, or any other cards, any other songs you think, or any other cards for this, let me know what you think. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.